Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Can't Save Us podcast brought to you by Literal Humans. I'm Paul David, founder and CEO of Literal Humans and your host. And I'm joined today by Matthew Whyatt, the founder and chief strategist at TechTorque. And we're going to talk about winning B2B software sales in the age of AI, a topic that's very top of my mind as a B2B salesperson. So Matthew, welcome to the pod.
Absolute pleasure, Paul. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to embark on a well-deserved and long introduction for you right here. So just bear with me. Matthew is the founder and chief strategist at TechTorque, where he helps B2B software and SaaS companies sharpen their go-to-market strategies, scale revenue, and tighten their sales systems. Matthew has spent more than 25 years in software sales, accumulating over $100 million in tech sales across startups, scale-ups, and global markets. Through TechTorque, he works with senior executives to eliminate guesswork in sales, build predictable pipelines, and create sales and marketing engines that actually win the best fit buyers. And that is the key, the best fit buyers. We're going to talk about that. He's also the host of his own podcast, so he's going to do a great job today. It's called The CEO and the Salesman. That's kind of what I am, so maybe I'll join you over there one day. We'll do a swap, where he interviews founders and leaders about what's working in business today, particularly in sales. Today, we're diving into a topic he knows better than most: how AI is transforming the world of B2B software sales and what sales teams need to do to stay competitive. Welcome, Matthew.
Thanks, Paul. That was a great introduction.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it.
Sure. Well, let's jump in. First thing we like to do with this question is just kind of paint the landscape that you're working in for our audience. So we want to talk about how AI is fundamentally changing B2B software sales. And obviously we know that for decades, B2B sales have been driven by relationships and the human intuition of reps. But yeah, how is AI reshaping that foundation? And what are some of the biggest shifts that you're seeing?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, we'll always have a job. So don't worry, Paul. We're okay. The thing is, AI is just not going to replace sales. It's going to take a lot of guesswork and lazy salespeople. So lazy salespeople who just want to put some garbage in the CRM, who are just going to pretend to make a phone call or make half-assed effort, that's going to be a problem for them. So sales, I learned many, many years ago when I started in sales, sales was a great job and an easy job if you're not willing to put the work in, but you don't make any money because it's a absolute meritocracy. If you are excellent and you put the work in and you do your job, then you're going to make an extraordinary amount of money. I've made millions out of selling and also run businesses that have made millions. It's often the salespeople are interesting crowd. The barriers to entry are low. Everybody who thinks that they're good at talking think, oh, well, I'll be a salesperson. And really what happens is they recognize very, very quickly salespeople are just as disciplined good salespeople are just as disciplined, just as clear, and just take their education in selling just as seriously as an engineer, just as seriously as an accountant. And the value of a salesperson continues to show up over and over again throughout the whole thing. So really, so overall, AI is not replacing salespeople. It's going to make good salespeople better, and there's nowhere to hide for the bad salespeople.
Yeah.
So intuition still matters. And this is the thing. There's real value in the diagnosis. And actually, I think the most value in selling occurs in the diagnosis, in actually exploring the customer's issues. Because the thing is, salespeople are typically going to be the most qualified to talk on a particular topic. And they might have sold, let's say, 10 this year, 10 whatever things you sell this year, you've sold 10 of them. So that means you've gone through 10 sales cycles. You've probably spoken to 50 people. You've got 10 sales. You've completed 10 sales. The person buying, they probably haven't bought one of these before, or they've bought one 5 years ago. So their exposure and experience to the sales process is so low that it's really on the salesperson to diagnose before they create a prescription, because a prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, and the same with selling. And so we can't let the customer lead the conversation because they're not qualified to lead the conversation. And I think that's really some salespeople who are buyers or procurement, they might get a bit grumpy about that. But at the end of the day, the salesperson has gone through 10 of these or 20 of these this year. They've gone through 0 of them, unless it's unless they're buying fruit. They're going to buy it all the time. But B2B stuff like what I sell and what you talk about as well, Paul, it is so important to allow the salesperson to be good, because selling is a performance art, not an activity-based art. Yes, we often say, get on the phone, make more calls, do more work. But really, you get to a certain point where it becomes a performance activity, and that's why coaching is absolutely desperately important. Yeah. That's why scripting is incredibly important. And only lazy, bad salespeople, and this is going to upset a lot of people, only lazy, bad salespeople don't follow a script.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because the best version of yourself is that script. And if it's not, then rewrite it.
So you're pro scripts, you're pro script, you're pro, because it's preparation, it's thoughtfulness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah, nice. Yes, absolutely. I mean, so let's dig into that, because we had John Richardson from My Sales Coach on the pod a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about how, qualification, and just going out there and hunting well, like for those best fit buyers was, across all their coaches, like the key thing that they're seeing brands and companies really need in terms of, skilling up their sales team. Are you seeing that as well, or are there other aspects of sales that you think are just as critical as qualification on the front end?
I really like what he said, and it's absolutely true. I've gone so far as I've had clients who are selling software in the construction industry, very competitive. And, of course, before I got there, the goal was to get to a demo. And so, of course, it became a show and tell. It became a dog and pony show. It became the only measurement of how many demos do we have. I came in there and removed the focus on demo and increase the focus on qualification. I had them go through a 32 question process before they were allowed to have a demonstration, because really nobody's software is that earth-shakingly brilliant anymore. Like I'm ancient now in software world. I started my first tech business at 22. That's in 1999. So I've been doing this a long time. And back in those days, in the tens, in the noughts to the tens, like people, you could do a demo of software and people go, wow. But today, it's so table stakes. It's like having good software is absolutely the base level requirement. Right. So really your qualification, that front end piece, and really if a salesperson can get to a point prior to demo to say, like, if you like what you see, would you be going ahead today? Of course, you couch that with a whole lot of other words, but the general feeling is, if you like what you see and I answer all your questions, would you be going ahead today? If they can't say yes, then say, okay, well, what are the 2 or 3 things that are stopping you from doing that? I always ask 2 or 3. Because here we go, I'm just going into my coaching mode now. Always ask 2 to 3, because lazy people give easy answers. And if I said to you, hey, Paul, how are you going this morning? Yeah, good, thanks. Well, you haven't thought about it. You've not taken there's no cognitive load in that answer. And so what's the main thing? Well, people either talk about, if you say, what's the main thing stopping you going ahead? Well, the problem with that is the main thing might not bubble up because the person has to process what's actually the real issue here. And also they might give a lazy answer, budget, other stakeholders, whatever it is. And so then, okay, if you ask 2 or 3, then they actually start to go process what are the 2 or 3 things. And I always ask, so what are the 2 or 3 things stopping us? Or what are the 2 or 3 things that are challenging for you? Because once again, what are the biggest issues in that qualification piece? What are the 2 or 3? They might go, well, it's time. And then, it's actually team. It's actually revenue. It's actually lead generation. Actually, our marketing sucks. Now we're all the way over here, and this is where we need to be.
Yeah, back to the point about diagnosis. I mean, we've totally revamped our sales process, and we're just getting to this point where we're really investing in that diagnosis and trying to make it just a fantastic experience for prospects. Where they really enjoy like taking that step back from their business and feeling as if they're working on it as opposed to in it. And then by the end of that process, they're like chomping at the bit to sign with us, because they're like, you guys are smart. You know what you're doing. That was a great sales process. Your execution process must be just as good. So really, really resonate with what you're saying there in terms of diagnosis and qualification. Yeah.
Hey, Paul, can I just give you? This is not my own IP. I've sort of made it up, but I'm sure it exists everywhere. Because I work with a lot of technology businesses. They do what's a scoping and discovery piece of consulting work, right? So I took that into my consulting piece of work, but consulting business, and I don't sell what we do. As we might do content and Facebook ads and run a whole bunch of marketing activities. We don't sell that because they're the tactics. We think about strategy, and I actually charge for the front piece of work.
Totally.
And so we charge $5,000 for that piece of work, because it's actually going to give them greater levels of information than ever. And so you don't sell the end products. And this is what I do with a lot of my B2B SaaS clients is we actually have gone away from selling the product. We go to selling the diagnosis.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've started to do that too, and right around that 5K mark is like, which is probably undervaluing what can.
And Paul, look, and I'll just give you some scope of what that can look like. So we did that with a mining software company. They sold to the biggest mining companies in the world. That was $29,900, because we knew that somebody on site who was a certain qualification, a certain size in that organization, they could authorize 30K. They could could authorize $30,000.
Yep.
So our price for the diagnosis was 29 grand.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean,
you know what? We closed 100% of those deals that we did that with. And if they're not willing to spend 30 grand, they're not going to spend $1 million. And also, that company went from doing 0 sales the previous year that I came along to over the course of the next year, they did 3 and then they did 6. So they went from 0, which, of course, they had huge contracts, massive amounts of, they were not struggling. But that's the real key is you sell the smaller thing, because selling software is difficult and everybody's been burned in 2025. Up to now, everybody's been burned by software.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to make sure that we actually go, well, let's make sure the diagnosis is correct before you make a purchasing decision on software.
Yeah. I mean, I love this idea of, and I'm sort of growing into this myself, as like the salesperson as the lead strategist, the front end strategist, who's starting to build that strategy and then hands it over if you have an execution team to for those tactics and things that you mentioned. I want to talk about tools. You mentioned people getting burned by software. A lot of teams are currently, and we're trying to avoid this, layering in AI tools into kind of outdated workflows and processes. So, what are some of the mistakes that you see companies out there making as they try to kind of AI wash their sales strategy, and what else are you seeing in the market?
So I actually spoke about this a little while ago, just recently, and really what it boiled down to is being able to do more dumb stuff faster. And so, the good AI, a great sales system is based on human psychology, because businesses don't buy things, AIs don't buy things, people buy things. And even if you're selling to, pick a business, selling to Eli Lilly, there's still going to be, that's a giant. I live in Princeton, New Jersey, so of course, medtech and medical and pharmaceuticals everywhere. But the thing is, you're not selling to that business; you're selling to an individual. That person still has to sign the purchase order. That individual, and yes, there might be a buying committee, and we know buying committees now expanding now to 11 to 15 people, which is a nightmare for salespeople. That's why salespeople should be paid more, because of the pain they have to go through. But also, good salespeople need to be paid more. They need to know how to map 15 individuals with 15 different ways of being measured, and 15 different personalities, and 15 different, education levels. So that's a real challenge. But it's really about making sure that the sales system is based on human psychology and the individual. And certainly when selling to a large businesses like that, we move away from better, faster, cheaper as a sales positioning. And we know that the person's not being measured on that anymore. They're being measured on looking good and covering their ass. Sorry, their butt. My Australian slips out every now and then.
All good. We love a little cursing on the pod. It's all good.
So that's okay. Cool. So really clear definition of best fit buyers, and we codify that. And then there's nowhere to hide. Buyer-led qualification. I think about that buyer-led qualification by asking questions. So the person asking the questions is in control. And so if your qualification is a pitch, then you're doing it wrong. So what I learned from working with Bob Urachuk at Velocity Selling, I was the CEO of Velocity Selling for a few years. What I learned from him is that in the early phases of a sale, it's 70% asking questions. 70% listening and 30% asking questions. There's no room for pitching. And of course, all that comes from no AI tool is going to do that. It might give you a head start, might give you talking points, it might give you the ability to do a bit of research. And of course, also then your automation occurs. Then you're mapping the nurture sequences, and you create through that funnel. You know that the person's interest is an inverted triangle funnel, right? So at the top of the funnel, the most number of people there, but they're the least engaged. And at the bottom of the funnel, they're the most engaged with there's the least number of people. So we need to make sure we feed those people the appropriate content and assets, marketing assets, at every stage. And if we could, a person who's disengaged and not interested at the top of the funnel, if you're going to give them a white paper, they're like, I'm out. I don't want to read 25 pages.
It's too much, yeah.
It's too much. So technology can help, but 10 years ago, we talked about CRMs, and 10, 20, 30 years ago, we talked about how great CRMs were. Once again, it's a tool, and you do it well, you make money. If you don't do it well, you're toast.
Yeah, you're wasting a lot of money doing dumb things faster and better, as you said.
Things faster.
I think one question that a lot of companies are trying to think about, and salespeople in particular, is like what a modern sort of AI enabled sales process looks like. And you've worked with more than 200 companies to build predictable selling systems through TechTorque and beyond that in your other roles. I mean, answering this question, like what does a high performing sales process look like in 2025, 2026 soon, that is AI powered, AI enabled?
Yeah. Hyper personalization. So ABM used to be the account based marketing. Used to be something that you'd have to do if you're selling $1 million product. Now account based marketing needs to occur if you're selling $100 product. This is, we're getting to a point where people expect that level of hyper personalization. They need to go, hey, dear Paul, you are the CEO of Literal Humans. You need these things. They go, oh shit, this is for me. So I want to feel special, and everybody is feeling special because the algorithms is teaching us that if we like a certain thing, you're going to get more of that. So that thing. So first of all, I don't think sellers need more tech. I think what they need is more empathy and better thinking, understanding of where the customers comes from, which brings us back to that qualification issue. So what they need is information about the purchaser. They need to know how they're measured. And one of the great ways to know how a person's being measured is to go on job boards and find jobs for the people that you're selling to. Because what those job boards do and those adverts, they tell you the level of qualification and how they're measured and who they report to. I mean, so if you already, and that's a Google search. I mean, there's no AI in that. But of course, AI can go and find that information and serve it to you, of course. And of course, we also need to make sure that there's real value articulation. So of course, once you're down the bottom of the sales funnel, you're engaged, technology is going to help you build an ROI case, because there's a lot of what I call unseen buyers. And so in the unseen buyers world, you're still going to have to get the person who's motivated and excited and your product champion. They're still going to have to go and talk to the finance department. And the finance department is going to go, well, show me the numbers. Well, then if you don't have the numbers as part of your sales pitch and it's all just rah-rah excitement and we're going to bet up and to the right and it's all going to be great and we're going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, it's not going to work. Because yes, that might have worked in the past where a person goes, Paul, you're a great guy, I'll just buy it. Why not? Let's get that signature done. It's not happened in the last 10 years. That has been eroded, and certainly in the last 3 or 4 years, doesn't. Well, it might exist in small business, but when you're selling to a large organization, you've got to make sure you recognize the entire buying group and have data and information for every single individual in there.
Yeah, really seeing and feeling that. I mean, I agree on the hyper-personalization. A lot of our clients are getting into like lumpy mail and sending actual physical mail to people that's like aligned to, their interests. And even too, like ABM, like I just took myself to an ABM conference the other day because I'm feeling that pressure as a salesperson to look across the sort of, the C-suite at least, and just the team and say, okay, where are these deals getting scuttled? I had a deal that was almost across the finish line, and all of a sudden the COO, who I knew nothing about, wasn't even a player, came in and scuttled it. And shame on me for not kind of doing that mapping. You know what I mean? So that really resonates with me. Those unseen buyers, that seems critical. So
Paul, a great way to do that is to interrupt here, but a great way to do that is create a document where you go, well, what's my buying group look like, right. And then you start a page, or you start a ChatGPT chat if you want to, but start a page, which is what we used to do because very, very old, and go, why CFOs of software companies love X, and you just make a list of that, and then you hand that to the marketing people and go, make this a one pager. Yep. And then why does COOs love it? And why does CFOs love it? And why does the cleaner love it? And why does the person that delivers the sandwiches love it? And you map all of those people out. And then when a person goes, oh, I've got to go present this to COO, cool, I'll email you our COO pack.
Right. Yeah, because it's been done before. It's in your case studies. It's like buried in your client experiences. Yeah. And
this is where technology and AI can help, because you go, right, well, I'm talking with this type of person. How are they typically measured? And then of course, and that gives you that. Also, one thing that's, we talked about upskilling the sales team. We talked about that. And I think that one of the key areas here is the salesperson is no longer salesperson number 23 in organization, Fortune 100 business, because they're going to Google you. They're going to look you up. They're going to look up Matthew Whyatt. They're going to look up Paul David. They're going to look up Fred Jones. They're going to look these people up. And if you're absent from LinkedIn, if you're not findable anywhere, if they can't find you online, then they're going to go, oh, maybe this is a false name, because we've all had that experience. Maybe this is not a real individual. And so what I think is really important is for sellers is to start building a bit of mini personal branding. Go through your outbox, go through your sent items in your outbox, and find 2 or 3 conversations you've had with customers, 4 or 5 ways that you've answered questions, and write a blog about that. Seriously, you don't need anything too clever. The free version of any of the AI things to say, hey, write this. Obviously get rid of the M dashes, obviously make sure it sounds like you and works for you. But you start putting content out, and that's going to be a real key to driving at least a little bit of visibility. If somebody goes, I'm going to buy from Paul David, I'm going to go find out what he does. Oh, he has a podcast. He does this. He does that. He's had this. He's a legit guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting, because it's a perfect segue into my next question on sort of upskilling, leaders investing in upskilling and coaching their teams for kind of this new era of selling. A lot of these sales reps, they were trained before the era of AI. So that skill gap is growing, right? So I'd love to hear, you mentioned, obviously, investing in personal branding. We do a lot of founder branding and executive branding, so totally hear you on that. What should leaders be coaching their sales teams on right now when it comes to AI or just, other human skills as well?
They should be coaching them on what the customer cares about. Empathy and what the customer cares about. Yeah, I know you've got to hit your numbers and you've got to go rah rah and it's the end of the quarter and come and buy my thing, I'm desperate. But really, if you don't have a relationship with the customer, you're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah.
And so this is, and I've mapped this out for a few clients recently, is back in 99, all the way through the early 2000s, we put an advert in a newspaper and magazines with a 1-800 number. Now, this is in Australia, of course. And so it was 1 column wide by 5 centimeters, so 2 inches long by 1 inch wide. And it was an advert, black and white advert in almost every newspaper, and it had really good copy. I spent a lot of money and of time and energy on good copywriters. Anyway, good copy, and people would phone us. And they'd never heard of our business. I don't even know if we put our company name in the advert. People just called us. And then we would pitch, and the salesperson would pick up the phone, and that phone, not like this anymore. So they'd pick up the phone and they would have to do all the work. They would have to present the company, provide documentation, provide demonstration, provide customer testimonials, make the customer feel safe, secure, known, important, valued. And that happened here at the beginning of the engagement. They became aware of the business, they engaged with the business. Now, people don't engage with sales until they're ready to buy. Like it's almost the annoying reality is, God damn it, I've got to now deal with a salesperson. Because they're just going to be these hyper energetic people trying to sell me some crap. I wish I could just do, the thing is, a salesperson needs to be better than ever before, with high level of skill and empathy and understanding, able to take control of a conversation much, much faster than ever before, and being able to walk the person through and have the customer kick their own bruise. How does it work? How often does it work? What are the consequences of that not working? What have you done to try to fix it in the past? And why didn't that work? That stack of questions is an incredibly powerful stack of questions. And it's in that order, because if you finish with, and why didn't that work? You're going to get some incredible insight. And AI is not going to do it. Technology is not going to do it, because the person's not going to answer honestly. So what do they need to do? They need to be better at asking questions, more disciplined, and they need to be really clear about the seller and what they're measured and how they're measured on.
Yeah. It strikes me that sales intelligence up front is increasingly critical. And I'd be curious about your perspective on, that blend of tools, with AI tools and that human ingenuity, how does that intersect with some of the selling frameworks that you're seeing? I know you're a big believer in those selling frameworks, and you mentioned precision selling. We've looked at MedPick. We're using the 4 conversations from Blair Enns. We've really gotten a lot of value out of having a framework as opposed to no framework. So I totally hear you on that. Talk to me about the blend of those frameworks with AI tools. What's happening in that space right now? I
see AI as a bit of a to use an American ism. It's a pitching machine. It gives you the ball at the right place, at the right time, at the right speed, and you can practice. And so an AI is going to give us the ability to talk to more people, although, funnily enough, fewer people are picking up the phone. So it's going to give us the ability to communicate with more people via whatever platform it is. But after that, AI is not going to help. Honestly, I use AI to get more at bats. I use AI to prospect. I use AI to reach out to get on podcasts. I use AI to help me articulate my thoughts more clearly. I use certain tools. I've mapped my brain and 25 years of selling into an AI tool that, I can have a conversation with my own brain now. I can literally have a conversation with it. It's a very, very cool piece of tech. But of course, it only gets me to the starting line. Gets me to the starting line, and then I got to deal with Paul David, who's, probably needs more sleep last night or more coffee this morning, and he's dealing with a bunch of stuff, and he's got a manager he's writing him, and he's got to do this, that, and the other. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, and if the conversation takes a left turn, then we take that left turn together.
Yeah, I mean, I see that too, and I appreciate what you're saying about using AI to get more at bats, but like the human still has to show up with the bat and swing it the right way and things like that. So I really appreciate that analogy. Also, was a former baseball player, so I love to hear that. What do you see as like the most significant sort of opportunities and frankly the biggest risks for sales teams that are embracing AI? Like what are you seeing out there in terms of big mess ups, but also big wins for salespeople embracing AI?
I think the performative art of we've got AI helping us do things is a real issue. They half invest, they half make the effort. They don't really take the time to think about their sales process. They go, we're just going to do more dumb shit faster. It's really, that's the problem. That the great challenge is too much reliant. You can't outsource good thinking.
Right.
You can't outsource human connection, and so that's the bit that's going to, of course, there's lots of high volume, low cost products out there, and you probably just need a good marketing machine and a bit of Facebook advertising or LinkedIn advertising or whatever it might be, a few partnerships and a few affiliates, and you're good to go. That's fine.
Right.
But when it comes to complexity, when it comes to business stuff that actually matters, when it comes to software or systems that actually matter, you've got to look at the process first. So process mapping is key. If you do not do that, you are just going to do more dumb stuff faster.
And how do people, I think about this a lot, we're struggling with this too, like how do you process map with AI in mind? So in other words, like instead of doing dumb stuff faster.
I don't think you do process map. I think you process map and you go, what's the grindy bit that the salesperson has to do or anybody has to do, and see if we can automate that. Put an agent together. An agent can go find the details and find the role and find how they're measured and find this, that, and the other. Build an agent that does that. That's fine. But I don't think you need. I mean, I don't think we do. We don't grow carrots with tractors in mind. Like I don't think we should make the tool the center stage of of what we're doing here. I mean, your business is called Literal Humans, so I think you figured it out, and I think anybody who tries to AI the whole thing is going to have they're going to be in a wash in an ocean of sameness, as Paul Dunn says. You've got you're just an ocean of everybody in bland. I mean, you ever look at LinkedIn? You ever look at anybody putting out content these days? There's very few people putting out good stuff. It's mostly people putting out, and some of the comments now on posts are hilarious. No human writes like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and then sort of therein lies an opportunity. I mean, this is why we named our brand what we did. But like, if you can figure out a way to, because human ingenuity is frankly going to be elevated, right? Like, I actually think to your earlier point, like the really best salespeople are going to be way more valuable in the coming years because the lazy salespeople are going to be kind of pushed to the side, in part because of AI automation, and because those great salespeople are going to be super powered now. They've got a platform under them. So, I really appreciate what you're saying around that. And performative AI, that's a great line. We'll use that. Want to get a little bit more into your background personally. I know you spent 25 years kind of building, scaling, and advising tech companies. What do you think has stayed true about great selling across that entire time?
Selling principles never really change. People buy clarity and confidence. So people need to be understood before they're convinced of anything. And rarely are they convinced. They're guided. Nobody's ever gone to a protest, whether it's right or left here in any country, and walked up to them with a microphone and convinced anybody, regardless of how good your argument is, of something that they don't really want to believe in.
Right.
And that is so really you need to have the customer be understood. And then if they're not going to buy it, if they're not going to see your side, then just move on. I was a unique salesperson when I worked for the businesses before I started my own. I recognized that if I could just spend less time with time wasters, I could spend more time on the people who actually were going to buy. And that sounds like such a motherhood statement. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it's so obvious. But I had the thinnest. So back in the day, we had lever arch files with paper as the leads, and you'd flip through the leads and make phone calls. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I had the thinnest back book. We called it a back book, right? Because we're in alphabetical order. And if I just genuinely believe somebody's not going to buy, I'd tear the lead out, hand it to the secretary and say, I'm done with this person. I'm done.
Right.
And everybody wants to hold on and babysit and call me in 6 months. Man, I'm not calling you in 6 months.
Yeah.
No, not doing that.
Yeah.
There's no B-backs. I'm selling it to you today or not, ever. And somebody else can sell that. Because if I then have 6 months of calling back in 6 months, I'm just going to, hi, Paul, it's Matthew here. We spoke 6 months ago. What a load of crap. What a total waste of time. Right?
So that takes confidence though, Matthew. It's such an emotional, like I think people are like in such a state of scarcity, and salespeople in particular, like they're like if I got to keep chasing, even the ones that I know in my heart of hearts aren't good because I got to get my numbers, it's like, it's a shame.
Yeah. And I think that's what some of the dumb stuff. Like talk to more, pick up the phone more, make 50 more phone calls. Boy, this is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. This is, people aren't, like literally Apple came out with a new update that blocks bloody calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you pick up, and they go, oh, look, it's Paul. I want to talk to Paul. Yes. Hello, Paul. How you going? Anyway. So
game has changed.
What hasn't changed? So simplifying, I think that's important. Consistency. And with that consistency comes back to scripts. And I would be, as a 21-year-old or 20-year-old selling in these boiler rooms, because I did grow up in a boiler room, phone calls, type of thing. The older guys who were there, they would make twice as many phone calls. They worked many more hours, but they were all over the show. They were having an hour-long conversation with customers, talking about their kids and all this sort of stuff. And that's fine if you want, but what we need to do is consistency. And I just found that if I was consistent, stuck to my script, when it wasn't working, I edited it, stuck to my script and did the work, I was always top of the sales board. Always.
Right. Yeah. I felt that too, moving to different sales frameworks and following more of a script. But actually, like the counterintuitive piece is like that 70% questions piece like really applies. And so the script is often questions, right? And it actually,
my whole script is questions.
And it actually paradoxically like leads to richer conversations. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a script. It's going to be all stunted and weird." No, you're asking better questions consistently, and you're pulling stuff out, and it's richer. So really appreciate.
If you got anybody objecting to using a script, Paul, say this. Well, the only reason, first thing, Brad Pitt gets paid $20 million. Right. He reads a script. Like if you're a top 0.001% Brad Pitt, if you're better than him or Robert Downey, that's cool.
Yeah.
First of all. Second thing is it's the best version of you. Your script is the best version of you.
You thought about it.
And third is that if you suck at using a script, you just haven't practiced it enough.
Yeah. It's like sort of like, why don't you trust yourself at your most thoughtful? Like when you sat down and you had stillness and quiet and you wrote that down, that's you arguably at your best, right? You're at peace. You can think, and then you're denying that part of yourself when you're in a sales conversation. So really interesting. So look,
and I just want to touch on the scripts because there's probably people going out there going, they're really upset. So a script is a framework and a structure and a list of questions. If you're trying to read this thing word for word, then you're going to miss the point.
Right.
Ad-libbing is okay. Right? Ad-libbing is okay, but you've got to show up, know the text, have an idea. I think that's what a famous actor said once. It's about, he played, what's his name? Tom Hanks. Okay. So you've got to show up on time, know the text, have an idea, and do the same thing with selling. Because all selling is really, it's 25 times a day you get the chance to be an actor. An actor as in you follow a process, you help a person out, and if they're not willing to be helped, then you 86 them. Move on.
Right. Yeah. Probably a good time to jump to our quick fire questions. This is fun ways for the audience to kind of get to know you. And we'll hold you to it. Just a quick answer, first thing that comes to your mind, and a quick reason why. So first question, If you could start another company, a startup by chance, what would it be and why?
I'm about to start two, and really they are to use AI to do the grindy work that my agency does. So
Okay.
one is in publishing content and downloading the brain, what I talked about earlier, and the other one is helping my clients get booked onto podcasts.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, very, very strong use case. Send some our way if they're good.
Will do.
We'll talk about tech inventions. So both sides of it. What's one that has you most excited and what's one that has you most concerned?
I think that really what I think is going to be useful in the future, I'll talk about that first because I'm not too concerned about tech because I'm the sort of person that takes ownership and accountability and responsibility for everything that happens in my world. So I don't really feel threatened by anything that way. Same with me moving to the States, right? I moved to the States 3 months ago. Just show up and figure some stuff out. I'm a high agency person, so I just show up and figure it out. So what gets me most excited is probably the bit in which we can use AI, good AI, and it probably doesn't exist just yet, to provide information on the best type of communication style the customer wants, real-time feedback and real-time, not necessarily real-time as in, you know, talking to Paul and you look over here at the other screen and go, oh, Paul, say this to Paul. He likes baseball. Oh, talk about that more. So feedback and sales calls, and having the ability to help a salesperson become better, faster, like speed that cycle up.
Yeah,
And so,
makes sense.
and rather, so how I used to have my salespeople, these are not quick fire, I'm sorry. What I used to do with my salespeople is a person would start and I wouldn't let them talk to a live lead until they made a sale to a dead lead. And a dead lead is somebody who said no.
Yeah. Oof, yeah.
Practice, right?
That's heavy. That's heavy practice. That's good.
But the thing is, they always did.
Yeah.
They always did. And so the thing is, AI can help you get those, because once again, it's at-bats, right?
Right.
Using baseball terminology, how many at-bats can you do? Well, I can wait for new leads to come in, which might come in one every couple of hours because we're always inbound selling. We're always inbound people. But if you could pick up a literal box of dead leads, pieces of paper, and make 180 phone calls in a day to people who already know what we're about.
Yeah.
You've got 180 chances. It builds reps.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
So AI can do that for us now, right? AI can make the phone call. You can pick it up and talk to an AI, and you can. And well, I don't know if it exists, but maybe we should create this together. But you have a conversation, and it gives you the objections, and you answer the objections. I don't have any money. Well, Mr. Jones, if you don't have any money, it occurs to me that would be the exact reason why you should buy it, because this product creates money for you. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. There's
whatever the objection handling is.
There's a couple of tools that we use that sort of take the heft of that interviewing for us, but we haven't used them in the sales process, so that's really interesting to think about and makes a lot of sense. So yeah. Something to think about there. Who's a literal human that's been integral to your career journey? You want to shout out quickly?
My wife, Terry. I started my business with her in 1999. She was 21 and I was 22.
Nice.
And so we've always worked together all the way through, right up to our peak madness. We had 70 people working for us across 5 different offices. I ran the sales and marketing, which is 10 people. She ran the other 60 people. So she is absolutely operations guru, finance guru, procedural person.
I love that.
You could call me the lead singer, but you'd be doing karaoke if you didn't have a team behind you.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm always trying to talk my partner into sales, harebrained business ideas and stuff like that. We're both in sales, so I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try. I've got one recently that I think will be good, so we'll see. What's an inspirational quote that stuck with you, during your journey in tech?
I don't really separate tech and life. It's my life, and that's sort of the life I'm having. Actually, here we go. It's written on my travel and adventure bucket list.
Nice.
And it is a quote from Helen Keller called "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing."
Love that.
I've driven a rickshaw over the Himalayas. I've lived in multiple different countries. And it's just, I literally 2 years ago, walking around New York and walking around the Northeast here and went, this is pretty cool. I'd like to live here one day. And we went, you know what, let's do it. So we did.
Nice. That's amazing. I love that. I love the energy. And fellow traveler as well. I think it's so critical. It just opens you up. And I think for sales too, you talk to everybody and anybody, and it helps a ton in your business. Well, listen, Matthew, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think you bring, an incredible combination of that deep sales experience and really a practical and kind of grounded view of, how the sales field is being reshaped in the age of AI, specific to B2B software sales. So, I think that your work at TechTorque, it really shows that, great selling isn't, it's not dying, it's not going anywhere because of AI. It's evolving. It's growing.
Yep.
So, and if teams, they embrace this structure and invest in coaching and engage in these modern tools carefully, they can really win. And I think your ideas about methodologies and things like that are really powerful. So I want to thank you for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Yeah. Where can folks find out more about TechTorque on the interwebs?
Find me on LinkedIn, Matthew Whyatt on LinkedIn. Of course, TechTorque.co. So that's where you can find out about it. So obviously the website, find me on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn as my sort of output of ideas. So I post on there multiple times a week. So you know exactly what's going on in my life, because and of course I don't hold any IP back. I think IP is in the execution. So if you want to learn anything about anything, go to my page, you'll see it there.
I love that idea about IP and the execution. Is something that we talk about a lot. So for our listeners, thank you for listening, and thank you, Matthew, again. Please give us a review, give us 5 stars so we can keep bringing great guests on to Tech Can't Save Us podcast, like Matthew Whyatt, the founder of TechTorque.